We there? We're here. We're here. Hey, look. It's
We're
Joe.
fuzzy. Hey,
We are a little
I
fuzzy.
do wanna. It's fine. It's fine. It's fine. Thomas Franco was interested. He said, "Is the are we done resetting?" The show's on, so it looks like we're done resetting. So
Think so.
that
Think
answers
so.
your question, Thomas Franco. You goddamn troll.
Look,
Here we go. We're gonna
I
start
missed-
talking about Power Rangers
I missed
Lost
the boss.
Galaxy. Who gives a shit? Power Rangers Lost Galaxy. Corey's in here. Corey, how you doing, buddy? You were with us yesterday, right? Shut up. He doesn't have any. Corey has sometimes nothing to say. Sometimes you're just there on screen to just be there on screen. So we're going to be talking about 2 episodes of Power Rangers Lost Galaxy tonight, this evening. Number 1, we're going to be talking about, what was it?
Episode 19, Rescue Mission.
Rescue Mission.
Or, sorry, 18 is Rescue Mission, 19 and 20 are the Lost Galactabeasts Part 1 and 2.
Corey, how much do you remember about the Galactabeast?
Everything. Just ask
Do
me
you?
a question. I'll lay it down on you.
Give us a little insight to what the Galactabeasts are.
The Galactabeasts are creatures from Marinoid. They were hitting on various planets after, I don't know, something. They were something
Oh
happened.
yeah,
that
this
was
is a real encyclopedia
You
knowledge
know-
here from our
yeah.
Power Ranger expert who apparently knew everything about everything. And I know apparently the
Look,
Galactabeast did something somewhere. We do know that, Corey. That is confirmed. Galactabeast did
It
something
was
somewhere.
mentioned offhand, all right?
What's that?
It was mentioned offhand in some episode, but they are from Marinoid, and they were captured by Scorpius, and each Galactabeast has an element and a respective ranger, and they summon armor to turn the Zords. There you go.
I love that. That was a pretty quick Wikipedia type up. That was good, Corey.
That was good.
Good on the Wikipedia. Go ahead,
I
Josh.
have a follow-up question. Is the Terra Zord a Galactabeast?
It's something else. It bothers me too. I'm like, what the hell is it? Because it's a robot. The rest of them are animals, you know?
We do got a super chat already from the Blurry.
Oh,
says,
thank you.
Why I don't like? Oh wait, sorry. Why I don't Lost Galaxy? It's dull, boring, and if go ahead, you just.
Okay, I believe why I don't like Lost Galaxy enough, and if it wasn't for us, then
there
he'd
you
be watching 90 Day Fiancé.
Well, you know what? Thank you for tuning in. And honestly, if it wasn't for these guys either, I'd probably be watching 90 Day Fiancé with Stephanie. So this actually gets me out of the house. Why are we so choppy? Do you think?
I don't know. Like it looks fine here on my screen. I think it's just up there.
So if I'm not playing chop and you guys aren't saying anything, I guess we're not saying anything. But thank you guys for joining us this weekend on this
I'll see
Sunday
if I can
Sunday
fix
evening.
it.
We are officially we're supposed to be moving to Saturday this week.
Yeah.
But I guess that's going to be next week. We're going to be talking Power Rangers Lost Galaxy. Thank you for joining us in the chat. Let us know where you're from. But before we get into it, Corey Gibson, Josh Goldman,
sir.
I am Joe. We're going to be talking Power Rangers Lost Galaxy. Real quick, Corey. How much do you remember from the rescue mission, Power Rangers Lost Galaxy?
A nice chunk of. So if you want spoilers or not,
We
let
are
me
getting
know.
some.
All right. What kind of questions are you trying to ask me? Right.
No, I was just curious to see how much you actually knew about that episode. So that's
That
really,
episode,
really good.
like a lot.
Yeah,
Besides,
sorry, I'm going to interrupt you for 1 second, Corey. Just a heads up to you guys watching. We are running into some internet issues. I'm getting a notification here from YouTube, so you guys may experience some buffering.
That's the one thing that I always hated about this is the stupid buffering issues.
Yeah.
Anyway,
But at least it's telling us.
at least it's telling you. I think on the next show we should set up on the other side.
Yeah, we might
Hard
move.
line in. But yeah, it's frozen on people's sides. Look at that. So sorry, guys. So sorry. If you guys can still see us or hear us, let us know. If not, we'll figure it out. But let's get into the episode. Josh, why don't you kick us off?
Yeah,
We are
okay.
frozen. We are
So-
frozen.
Oh, man, that's... can you guys hear us, or are we just frozen video-wise? Let us know if you can hear
All
me
of us are
asking.
frozen.
I
Corey's
don't...
frozen too.
I don't know.
Yeah,
Yeah, well,
Brandon's
Corey's
frozen
moving
right
here.
now.
So yeah,
It's frozen for everybody.
frozen for everyone. All right, bear with us for 1 second. Do I have a... Yeah, I've got
Hi.
Okay, now we're back. I think we're good.
Didn't see you there.
Think we're good now. So where we leave off, I was going to be talking about what this first episode was that we were getting to.
The rescue mission.
Of course, now it doesn't say excellent connection anymore. So yeah, it looks like this is gonna be a weird issue throughout. So sorry about that. We'll fix this for the Star Trek show and for the wrestling show later. Anyway, for right now, we're talking about episode 18, which is the rescue mission, which starts off almost like an episode of Star Trek Enterprise that Joe and I were recently talking about. I don't remember what the name of that episode was, but it was episode 2 of the first season. So Terra Venture receives a distress signal from a ship. They're not exactly sure what's going on. The video is choppy, and the council at Terra Venture is trying to decide whether or not they should go. The overall consensus from the old dudes that are sitting there is that, well, saving people isn't part of our mission, so we should just ignore this and go on our way, because otherwise we're going to be diverting and taking time away from our trip. Mike Corbett comes in and he's like, listen, guys, we don't have to have saving people like specifically spelled out in our mission. It's the right thing to do, so we should just do it. And one of the council members agrees with him. I don't know any of their names. Do the council members have names?
Yeah, Stanton.
Well, I know him. I know him because he's the captain. But the actual people who were like sitting there discussing everything.
I don't remember.
I think only the lady has one. Renard?
That sounds right.
High Council Renard.
That sounds right. If you guys in the chat know, let us know what the name of the council members are. There was the old dude that looked kind of like Stan Lee, and then everyone else. Yeah. So so I think the one that you were talking about, Merrick, I believe was her name. She agreed with Mike. I was like, okay, go get your team together, and let's go save these people. So they get to the ship, and it's dark, lights are out, and it's covered in like spider webs.
Are you explaining the episode and not necessarily reviewing? You're explaining.
Well, I'm kind of giving an overall explainer of what.
Guys, you know what to watch.
What in?
This is the episodes we watched in Power Rangers Lost Galaxy. If you're a Power Ranger fan,
hopefully you guys
hopefully you'll watch this episode.
Yeah.
Let's reminisce about this a little bit, though, because there's a lot of tropes here that are taken out of classic sci-fi.
Right. Well, and that's kind of why I wanted to explain a little bit about like where we were, because like immediately getting into this, like I said, it reminded me a lot of that second episode of Star Trek Enterprise. Obviously, we know that their costumes came from Starship Troopers.
Yeah.
And they're fighting like some sort of a bug creature, which is a Starship Trooper thing. We didn't really get that, like, do you guys want to live forever type thing from Starship Troopers, but it kind of had that like horror alien feel, as someone said in there, and this is probably one of my favorite episodes that we've seen.
Yeah, I actually think this episode's good for a multitude of reasons. One, just being a standalone episode, I like the fact that there's stakes involved. For example, I like the fact that there's an actual situation that they have to address, whether or not they're gonna save this ship or be on their merry way. And I like that moral compass is kind of played with in this episode.
Yeah.
I think it's something that you don't see a lot of in Power Rangers, because a lot of times in Power Rangers, it's just like, okay, that's the battle, let's go fight. This one was definitely more about not necessarily who needs our help, but what's our mission.
Right.
And I like that. I like that a lot.
Yeah, and I liked the horror aspect of it, and I also liked that it took them a while to actually morph into the Rangers, because everyone was kind of like spread out and doing their own thing. My one question though is, how did Mike convince everyone else to let Leo come along on this trip? Because like Leo had basically said, I don't want to be in this GSA thing, this isn't for me, and went off to do his own thing, and now he's kind of back with them again.
Yeah, I think that
the thing with Leo, that's like, I don't understand. Like, he just tags along. He's there when it's like whenever the story calls for it, he can just do whatever he wants. Because like, if this is the real military, it's like you can't do that. You're like the civilian. Get out of here.
Yeah, I think. I mean, Leo definitely has. I feel like he's a little bit of a con man. Like he's kind of hustled his way in every situation he's in, and it's all been by pure chance or luck. However, with that being said, I actually think he goes through one of the biggest character developments.
Really?
I do, because if you think about where Leo starts, well, we aren't where Leo ends.
Right.
But if you think about where he starts to where he ends, he is a true hero. Where we get to see him become a hero, and I think that's the fascinating part about Leo Corbett's character. That he's an what's the word? He's like an not unwilling, but like kind of like he doesn't necessarily expect to be a hero. You know what I mean?
Right.
It's something that just kind of happens, and he falls into it. But then he understands the responsibility as we get later on down the line. And I think that's the reason why some of these characters in Lost Galaxy are so well flushed out, because I think that they all kind of like tie in together, because you're seeing, and especially in this season, you're seeing more adult-themed jobs.
Yeah,
Like
absolutely.
Having Reggie Roll's character, what's his name? Damon. Having Damon become a mechanic that ends up becoming he's a relied upon staff member. And you know what? I don't know if you guys have gotten there yet, but I also like the fact that the commander, the female commander, she almost has no time for Damon.
Right.
Until she realizes, oh, actually, you're really good at this. You know what I mean? So his skill set comes in handy, and it actually comes in handy with being a ranger as well. So I really like the characters that they're developing here along the course of this season of Power Rangers Lost Galaxy.
And well, something else that was interesting about this episode is something. I know you and I have talked about this a lot. I don't know if I've talked about this with Corey or on this specific show before, but it kind of ties into the whole Toei and Hasbro kind of parting ways. There was no Sentai footage in this episode.
Yeah.
Everything in this episode was all original American shop footage.
Yeah. I mean, fun fact, I'm sure a lot of people that are watching this probably already know that the only reason this is even a space-themed season is because Power Rangers in space, storyline and everything else, it did so well that they wanted to reduplicate that magic and make another space season, even though it wasn't intentional, or it wasn't intended to be a space season. So I find that's, and honestly, that's a little bit of why I like the dynamic between Power Rangers and Toei, is that it is somewhat of a challenge to get a show, be like, okay, make it yours,
right,
and figure it out. You know what I mean? So that's interesting. It's interesting. It's an interesting way to do things. But this episode in particular, I think they lean super heavy into the space sci-fi trope, and I love every single second.
Yeah, like for me, it was honestly it was a little bit. It was, I can't say that it was jarring, but it was a little bit of a disappointment going from this episode into the next two.
Yeah.
Because not that I thought the next two episodes were bad, it was just such a complete departure from what the normal episodes in this series have been, that I was like, oh, they're starting to do something new, and then we went back to the same old thing, and I was just like, oh, all right.
Right.
So it wasn't a
This episode like a sore thumb out of everything else. It's like the black sheep of the
but in a good way.
Lost Galaxy.
Yeah.
Well, I almost think that that's kind of like,
Yeah.
I mean, as much as people want to give him credit or not give him credit for his, other seasons, is Chip Lynn, I think, at his best, really understands what Power Rangers can be. But I almost feel like there's this corporate mandate, whether it have been from Saban or Disney or Hasbro, that were just kind of like, hey, like, you can kind of tell this episode was going to be something different and something special, and then it turns back to Power Rangers.
Yeah.
Right? So, with that being said, you can almost see, like, there's an executive somewhere at either Saban, or I guess at this point Saban, that's like, no. We got to sell more toys. Let's, we got to put the Power Ranger kind of shit in here.
Yeah, but this episode for me showed me like the potential of what Power Rangers could be for a more adult audience.
I couldn't agree more. I mean, I just even the Terra Venture expedition, as we'll call it, that alone has its own sci-fi tropes within it. And I actually think a season like that, like if a season like Lost Galaxy came out now, it would be so kind of like on the nose of what we're going through in time right now.
Yeah, well, like I feel if Lost Galaxy came out now, it would be a lot like what Netflix did with Lost in Space.
Yeah. I couldn't agree more.
It would be this more down to earth, grounded, or even I don't know if either of you guys have seen it yet, but there's a show, another Netflix series with Katie Sackhoff and Justin Chatwin called Another Life. That's also in that same kind of vein about what I would see as like just a new take on the series.
I mean, and that's what people. I mean, I think that's the whole thing, right? These motifs Like the motif of this season doesn't necessarily match up with the theme, and it's fine.
Yeah.
They make it work. And kudos to the writing staff and the production team for making this season work. Now, this is a fun fact that we talked about yesterday, and Corey was actually with us in person. Josh actually didn't know that the motif for the Japanese Super Sentai. Corey, why don't you fill him in on what the motif for the Super Sentai of this season is? I believe it's
Gingaman.
Gingaman.
Gingaman is a nature-themed Sentai. Each ranger has a element. Red is fire, blue is water, green's air, pink is flowers, and yellow's lightning. So they really watered down. They didn't use the elements hardly ever in Power Rangers, which is kind of annoying. But that's a lot of the reason why you have to complain about how the lights of Orion found on the cave in Terra Venture that's like 1,000 years old. It's like, how do you? They're on a space colony. What do you do? I mean, that could have been on a planet. They could have been passing by a planet. Oh, their lights are over there. But it's just the writing they came up with.
Which you kind of picked up on. You were like, wow, that's why. Like all of the places they fight these monsters is like pretty barren.
Right? Yeah. Because like whenever they're fighting, you never see the dome. Like you're like they're in this dome on a space station. Why don't you ever see anything? It's not like an Angel Grove or any of the cities on Earth or on the alien planets where it's a whole planet. You know that they're on a space station. So that was always just weird to me, and now that makes a lot of sense why.
Oh, the stupid freezing thing, I hate it. Yeah. It does make sense why. I think though that this episode is phenomenal. I think it's
I agree.
It's one of the best standalone Power Ranger episodes probably in the history of the show, because it just does so many different tropes. And you're right, like it really is kind of like the next level of where Power Rangers should have headed.
Yeah, and it's interesting to me because you and I were talking about this on the Star Trek side a little while ago. Star Trek right now, you've got Star Trek Discovery, which was the first of the shows that came back. Now you've got Strange New Worlds, which is going back into the episodic format that Star Trek is really known for. Star Trek Picard is following an older version of one of the TNG characters. Lower Decks, which is more like a Rick and Morty type show.
Right.
Prodigy, which is going to be a Nickelodeon version of a Star Trek series. So there's all of these different genres of Star Trek that are coming out. Even though they're all Star Trek, they're all different types of shows. And thinking about what they could do with Power Rangers within that kind of a setting.
I mean, especially Power Rangers, because it's not.
That'd be so great.
I mean, the thing with Star Trek, it's really relegated to space. I mean, there's facets of the Federation you can deal with.
Right.
But with Power Rangers, there's so many different motifs and seasons that you could really touch upon, and even different dimensions that you could really make into something really special. I think that the elements for Power Rangers to be something truly amazing are there. It's just they're not hitting them quite yet. Maybe they're getting there. Maybe I'm seeing it develop a little slower than I would like. But you would think after 27 years, we'd get there a little faster.
Right. But I mean, like my ideal situation now would be that after Dawn and Fury, that they decide, okay, we're going to make a kids show, but we're also going to make a show for the older fans.
Yeah.
And maybe something else.
Well, this is such a fascinating topic because I feel that like with the comics, it really is geared towards the more adult audience.
Right.
I'm curious to see how those sales are because if I'm not mistaken, I believe Power Rangers is the highest selling book in Boom Studios.
I think you're right.
But I know it's competitive with Lumberjanes, with that being said.
Right.
But I'm very curious because if it's showing a return on the comic side, why wouldn't they just be like, all right, we have something here. Let's figure out what to do with it. That side of it makes me wonder a little bit of like, is the comics side really that strong? Then again, even for and I think this is just a corporate thing. It's my own opinion, but I think it's a corporate mindset. Is thinking, oh well, we can't sell toys to adults. Adults don't buy toys.
That's not true at
all. And it's
complete.
We both know that. We know that's not true.
Dude, what did I spend here a couple of weeks? Like $150 just on like. I bought Star Wars The Child fun, like the giant Funko thing. I bought action figures from the Tick from like 30 years ago. Tron action figure. Like I bought so many toys.
But that's my point, and I feel like that's kind of.
I mean,
how dare Corey, you son of a bitch! You cut me off one more time. No, go ahead.
Look here. All right. I mean, I don't think Hasbro really thinks that way. With when you think about their Transformer line, is geared towards
How
older
long did that take, though,
collectors.
Corey? How
Their
long did
main
that
Transformer.
take?
Yeah, 2007.
How long has
Maybe a little bit
held the
before that.
Transformers property?
I don't know, like
cool.
35 years.
So in 35 years, just in the last like 50, like 14, that's really started to hit its stride. So I mean,
maybe a bit
but see,
sooner
that's what
than
I'm
that.
saying though, and
So
the
I think
biggest
Power
difference,
Rangers is
the
way there.
biggest difference between Power Rangers and Transformers is that Power Rangers has yet to churn out a successful film franchise. Transformers has, and it's proven that, and they've gotten A-list actors. I'm not saying the 2017 movie didn't, but that was under a whole different regime. But with that being said, you got to take that into consideration, because obviously in these film franchises you can market towards an older audience. Because let's be honest, Power Rangers, I know that the show's marketed, and they said it very clearly in the Den of Geeks article that Seamus wrote. They state that the brand is from, what is it, 2 to 11?
Yeah, but
even in a film, you got to be 100% honest with it. You know it's going to be PG-13, which means automatically you're going to have to lift that demographic up a little bit.
it's bizarre to me, because like all this stuff, kind of came out of the 80s one way or another. And if you look at like the things that were out in the 80s, like Bill and Ted's Excellent Adventure, that was not targeted at kids. They made a children's cartoon out of the show. Beetlejuice was not targeted as kids, and they made a kids cartoon out of it. So if you can go backwards that way, there shouldn't be any problem with moving the other direction too.
Couldn't agree more. I think we should move on to our next episode. By the way, let's give it some rankings. I know you guys in the chat love doing this. We love doing it too. What do you
I'm giving it a 5. This absolutely, by far, in this series, has been my favorite. So the rescue mission is getting a 5.
I'm also going to give it a 5. Mainly because it is one of the best standalone episodes. You don't necessarily have to know about anything before or after. Mm-hmm. You get it. It. Great standalone episode. And, hey, sprinkles in a little bit of the Power Ranger tropes, too.
Yeah.
I mean, honestly, before Corey gets into this is more of a sci-fi episode with Power Rangers that happen to be in it.
Yeah.
And I like that a lot.
All right, Corey.
5. Give it a 5. Also, we forgot to mention the Galaxy book was found in this episode, which is important in the next two.
Also, a couple of other things that we found out in this episode is that we now know that the Terra Avenger is seeking a new world in the Eurolian galaxy. It was never previously mentioned where they were looking. We also see where is it here? You went through that. Oh, the armor worn by the crew would later be repainted and added to the A Squad Rangers and SPD. So obviously we're not there yet, but that's just some fun trivia.
No.
Is that not true?
No.
That's what it says on Fandom.
No.
That is not true. Wait, what was
that's not right.
The armor worn by the crew would later be repainted and added to the A Squad Rangers.
Oh, that is actually right. The armor that is worn by the crew would be added to the A Squad Rangers.
Corey's shaking his head no.
The actual armor?
No.
So you're saying the A Squad Rangers didn't have armor? Or it was different armor?
The GSA military armor?
It just says armor.
No. They wore motorcycle pads, and they used the Space Ranger helmets. They didn't have the GSA
well, they didn't, I don't think.
pads
I mean, I know that they didn't have the GSA pads, but he's just talking about the general armor. Let's check this out.
All right, while Joe's looking that up, I'm going to run through a couple more of these notes. As I mentioned earlier, I knew this just by watching the episode, but here again it says this episode contains no Sentai footage. Steve Wang has, it says jokingly dubbed the episode an alien knockoff, but I mean, it really kind of is, and it works. None of the regular villains appear in this episode. I'm assuming that's because it's all original footage, no Sentai footage. And as I had mentioned before as well, Leo and Mike don't appear morphed in this episode at all, and Damon and Maya don't appear unmorphed.
Corey, you were incorrect, my friend.
No, I'm not.
Yeah, you are. So the actual armor is just repainted in those colors, the ones that they're wearing in this episode. The actual bodysuit armor is the same armor in SPD. In SPD Squad A.
And Matthew Thompson in the
I'm
chat here
looking at
saying
the-
that the helmets aren't the same, but the armor itself
Yeah,
is.
the helmets are not the same, but the armor is the same.
I'm looking at A Squad. That doesn't look like the
Because it's
the
a different
GSA
color?
armor at all. No, it's not even
Well, in this
design-wise, it's not
episode,
the same.
in this
looking
episode,
at
the
them back to
GSA
back.
armor looks different than the way that it looked in the premiere episode. So if you're basing it on that, then Corey, do your research. But if you're not, then
What are you
so
talking
the
about?
episode in the first episode, their GSA armor is different than it is in this episode. Oh, Jesus Christ! Corey.
It looks the same to me.
All right. Well, while Corey is having an
Oh, it
existential
never
crisis,
changed. All right, whatever. We'll say
I'm
that.
gonna go here
Okay.
to the chat. Matthew Thompson says that I make an excellent point, so I just wanted to point that out that I had a good point.
I do want to say something else too, and I don't know, maybe this ain't my show. I haven't been on this show since Power Rangers Turbo. So I will ask you guys this because look, for Ranger Wrap Up to Retro Ranger Wrap Up, there is quite the drop off on live views, and we're gonna focus group this. We're not gonna do the next episode. We can save
Okay.
that for next week, but for the next 4 minutes, let's focus group this. What do you guys want to start seeing in this Power Ranger retro review? Would you like it to be maybe like a watch-along style? Would you like little segments where we talk about characters? Where Corey can go into the characters, like maybe the monster characters, while everybody else picks apart the episode. What do you guys want to see? Because we want to make a show that you guys like. So,
That's a good question. Did you guys like the the trivia things that I was doing before, where I would show the monsters and we would talk about those? Did that work? Did that not work?
exactly. So let us know because I think we want to make this the most enjoyable viewing experience for all of you. We obviously know that we have a huge Power Ranger fan base. Ranger Nation really turns up for the Ranger wrap-up, but we want those retro Ranger wrap-up numbers to be the same. And now we know that this is just a lot of like Joe wrong looking at it now. It hasn't changed. Well, then you're wrong. It's the same goddamn armor, Corey.
I like how he had typed that into the chat.
No, it's not. It's the
Yeah.
same armor.
But
I didn't want to interrupt you. I didn't want to interrupt
I
you.
think that we want to just make a show that you guys want to attach to. So, just let us know. Leave a little suggestion here at the in the comments or even in the chat. Segments about the characters would work for me. We can start working on that.
Yeah.
Corey apparently knows everything. You'll get this character appeared sometime in some episode. Is kind of like what you'll get, but maybe Corey will do a little deep dive of research. Maybe pull a little assets.
Yeah. Well, maybe
I can tell you
instead
how found-
of like going through the episodes like we have been in like these actual reviews, we can just go and we could pull out the villains that appeared in the episode and like notes like we have here and just go through those.
Yeah, we'll
And
plot
talk
point
about
it.
all that. Yeah.
It'll be like the top 5 things that we liked, maybe top 5 things we hated.
Yeah.
And then Corey can fill in the blanks with some of the character stuff, like why this was important and why this wasn't important, why this worked, why this didn't work. Because I think that would be fun. We love doing retro. I think retro is a lot of fun. So I think I think it's just a fun show to do, and it also lets us all relive Power Rangers. And to tell you the truth, it also gives guys like Josh or Elle or whoever else, because I know Tatiana really wants to do retro Ranger wrap-up.
Yeah.
We'll maybe bring her into a season. It starts exposing our group to Power Rangers that they hadn't seen before. Like, is this your first season?
Second. My first was
Space.
Space. Well, at least here. Like my first season was MMPR because that's what I watched, growing up.
Now, the Blur says he did give us a super chat, which we greatly appreciate. I like the breakdown given today. It did change my view on Lost Galaxy a little bit, but not much, but a little. So kudos to you. Thank you, Blur. That's what we're hoping to do. I think that there's, like I said earlier in Ranger Wrap-Up, which is in our archives and you can watch later on today, is that with Power Rangers, there's always going to be something good about it, but there is going to be bad things because that's the nature of it. But it's really what we're doing is trying to celebrate the great stuff that we bring to the show.
So, I obviously didn't run this by you so I'm gonna ask everyone this because this is I think a question that kind of ties into this too. Rather than going through the entire season like we have been, do you think it would be better to go through and pull out important episodes?
No, we go through every episode. I think that's the.
Some episodes aren't worth going to.
I think we should rotate every episode because I feel that like that's kind of like the charm of this is really making it a rewatch. So here's our deal. Here is our deal. Is next week? How about this? You guys have homework to do. You watch a podcast. You listen to a podcast that I listen to. You guys have homework to do next week that are watching. All 16 of you guys. Next week, Galactabeasts. Let's talk about it. Let's have a real conversation about it. Corey, you got to do a little research. Give us some fun facts about the Galactabeasts. Let us know how they fit into the storyline. And I even want you to maybe we'll call this Corey Writes Power Rangers. I want you to let us know where you think the Galactabeasts are next time. Now, don't tell us right now. Give you a week to think about it, and you give us a good little where the Galactabeasts are at now in the Power Ranger episode. What we'll do is that we'll put together maybe 5 things we loved, 5 things we didn't like, and we'll rotate it out, and we'll hit episodes that way, and we'll do it up like that. We'll try it that way. If you guys don't like it, we'll figure it out. We'll figure this out together, Ranger Nation. We're gonna do this together. So
shut up, Matthew.
This watch along should be a lot of fun. Oh, by the way, if you didn't know this, Josh and I are coming up next with Star Trek. You don't do homework, Blur? Well, you don't have to, because hopefully we do enough of it for you. But you don't have to do the homework. But I think it would be a lot of fun to actually have an engaging discussion for episodes that you think you remember. But I tell you, I promise you, you watch them back with a new lens, it's a completely different experience. So next week, new Retro Ranger wrap up, new format. And you know what? It'll always be changing to let you guys have the best viewing experience. But what I was going to say is we are going to do Star Trek right after this. We are going to be doing the Riker Maneuver, classic Riker Maneuver. So if you liked this episode, I highly encourage you to join us in about 15 minutes for the Riker Maneuver. And if you're not a Star Trek fan, just put the show on in the background. We like the numbers. So join us for that. That's going to be a lot of fun. But thank you guys. Thank you, Ranger Nation. You can close us out.
All right.
Right? That's a good...
Thank you, Joe. As he said, thank everyone for joining us. We will be... I feel like you already did all of this. So I'm just going to say goodbye, Corey.
Monday. Tomorrow, I'm sure a lot of you guys are already in there, but if you don't know, Power Rangers Morphin Mondays are back. We're doing the Power Ranger watch-alongs. This week is going to be the Sodarso Brothers. If you guys saw the viewing globe, then you know that you already saw the episode. That was the preview there. But for those of you that didn't or want to experience the episode again, and there's going to be a little status bar that you'll be able to follow along in the course of the episode.
Oh, yeah, you'll know exactly where they are in the episode.
Yes, so you can actually watch along with us as we're watching the episode. But also, it's available in podcast form. So if you want to hit up, I always want to say Stitcher, but
yeah. So right now we're on. You can find us on Anchor.fm. You can find us on Spotify. You can find us on Google Podcasts. Something called what was it? Radio Free. And soon we will be on iTunes and just about everywhere else.
So everywhere else. So check it out. Just type in Morphin Monday Power Ranger Watch Along. The first episode with JDF is already up there. The second episode is going to drop at the same time the YouTube show, or roughly around the same time. It'll drop sometime tomorrow on the podcast
sometimes
side.
It takes a couple of hours for it to catch up on the podcast side. Also, as Joe said, we're going to be up 15 minutes with the Star Trek show Enterprise. What episode are we talking about? Civilization?
Civilization. It's a good one. So if you guys like this episode, we highly recommend checking that out. Because now we want to get you guys into a new fandom. Let's expand our horizons. And tell everybody where can they find us on social media. Corey's at C. Gibson Rex. He doesn't really tweet that much. He really doesn't do much of anything anymore. Josh is at Vogon's Poetry Slam. He's really more on Twitter, not so much on Instagram. Yeah. And I'm on Joe Luminardi on all social media, and I'm starting to post more everywhere.
Wrestling?
Oh, yeah. Wrestling's going to be on after Star Trek. So we're doing a jam-packed 4-hour slot. Even though these shows haven't been 4 hours, we've been dealing with a lot of technical difficulty. We shouldn't expect that because we're going to move probably to the other side. But you know what? Who the fuck knows at this point?
Right.
Let's just have some fun.
It's 2020.
Join us for some just fun streams. Just come on back with us, guys. And just know, hit that like, share, and subscribe button. Hit that notification button because we always have new videos coming out. And we are always watching.